And the state of Hawaii's public school system has been under intense scrutiny even before the teacher furloughs that have left Hawaii students with the shortest school year in the country. Many say the Board of Education has to be changed. The Senate's Education Committee today is scheduled to vote on 2 bills that would change the elected board to one that is appointed by the governor. Supporters say it would give the board more accountability. The idea has the support of Governor Linda Lingo, former governors George Ariyoshi, John Waihee, and Ben Cayetano, along with former Congressman Neil Abercrombie, who is running for governor. And joining us this morning to talk about this and other issues is Senator Norman Sakamoto, of course, of the Education Committee Chairman. Sir, thank you so much for being here.
Morning. Thank you for having me on.
Now, first, let's talk about this idea of changing the Board of Education from an elected body to one that's appointed by the governor. What's your feeling about how the legislature feels about this?
Well, people were frustrated. Furloughs brought this to a head, as you mentioned. And over the years, the legislature has looked at the school board and felt many things need to be done more timely. Things can be done differently. The University of Hawaii Regents has a process where a committee vets the nominees, a select list is moved up to the governor for appointment. So the legislature has looked at that model and determined that might be the best model to change our current Board of Education to.
How would it change? What would be the difference in the two?
Currently, people go to the polls. The week before, some people open the paper or listen to somebody and say, well, here's 30 names. Maybe which name sounds good to me. But the new process would have a committee who would get prospective people, perhaps yourself, saying, I'd like to be a Board of Education member. They'd vet the nominees through a process and then send a limited number up to the governor for appointment.
Let's talk about some of the other bills that are still alive in the legislature dealing with public education. One of them, of course, is providing money to fund those furlough days, at least for next year. But all you folks can do is provide the money. All the sides have to agree on a deal, and we're talking about the HSTA, the Board of Education, Department of Education, and, of course, the governor's office.
Right. Pretty much the governor and the teachers are the main players. They need to agree. So the Senate has put the bill forward that from the Hurricane Relief Fund, take $80+ million, put it on the table. The House has a similar funding mechanism, but using the Rainy Day Fund. But both chambers have said, we're going to provide a means to fund the solution. Please, by all means. 5 more furlough days left this year. I'm not giving up. I don't think we should give up.
Do you think there's a chance, I mean, from where you're sitting at the Senate, that they'll end the furloughs this school year, or is it probably something that's going to happen next school year?
I'm hopeful, and if we don't end it this year, it's sad for everyone. And
that's not all you folks are doing with education. The other thing, you're also looking at bills that would extend the school year and extend the school day. How do you plan to pay for those things, and why is this important?
Well, I think some people say, well, if we extend the school day, does it mean the whole crew, everybody needs to show up at 7 in the morning and stay till 4:30 in the afternoon? Exaggerating the time, of course. But no, just as here in your workplace, people start early, end earlier, people start later and later. So there's a way to stagger some of the hours, the time, so that we can cover more time for students, but that doesn't mean all of staff has to be covered from minute 1 to minute 900.
All right, and the last question I wanted to ask you is something that you folks are working on also today, and it's a way to make sure, it's dealing with housing, and to make sure that the right people are getting tax credits for providing homes and rental units for people who are low income.
Right, the state has provided tax relief to landlords so they don't need to pay the excise tax on certain lower rent units. There's some question of, are we doing this properly? Is it being monitored properly? And we need to relook at that, because part of the equation for us is how do we close some of the loopholes so that we can indeed have more dollars to do many of the important things that we all know, whether it's homelessness or education, healthcare, many things. So we need to close loopholes that make sense and really bring this back to what's intended. Help certain of our residents, maybe not necessarily help somebody who's coming from California or Canada, paying a limited rent and then saying the landlord, well, maybe I'll not pay excise tax on them. That's not the intent.
All right, Senator Norman Sakamoto, sir, thank you very much for joining us this morning, and good luck with the rest of the session.
Thank you very much.